Rafael, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Nice to virtually meet everybody. We hope to meet you all in Brazil soon. No, thank you, Miriam. I just wanted to take advantage of the idea of the webinar is to provide a more general idea of the tech sectors and opportunities and challenges. This is also the opening webinar of a series of webinars the whole month. So please, we'll talk about one of them at the end of this presentation. So we'll bring different speakers, different experts in different areas throughout this month. This is, I guess, the idea is to give a more general perspective of Brazil, and the next one will be more specific in different topics. So I guess to move ahead, to give you a little bit of idea of where we're coming from in Brazil. The tech sector, if you, I guess we can go to the second slide. Sorry, Miriam.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the first presentations. Let's see, to the third slide, Miriam. Sorry. Yeah,
There.
that's our contact, and then to the next slide. Sorry, I just want to give you an overview. So the idea of Brazil and technology, very briefly. Although about only half of Brazilian's population is online, it's already the fifth largest internet and mobile economy in the world. It's a top market for Facebook, for Google, for Twitter, and it's one of the fastest growing smartphone markets globally, with another 100 people starting to come online. And so Brazilians have a passion for technology and social media. That's very important to keep in mind when you're working in technology in Brazil. They really, we really are engaged. And LinkedIn as well, we're one of the biggest communities, and Facebook, like I mentioned. Well, Brazil's going through one of the worst economic crises in history. So people ask me, what is it still worth seeking business opportunities in Brazil at the moment? The answer is still yes, especially in the tech sector. People are more likely to pay attention to efficiency now, and they will be more likely to experiment with new things. Technology creates efficiencies in processes that are extremely inefficient. Looking beyond the crisis, the adoption of smartphones keeps growing in Brazil. Consumer internet keeps going, and companies are incorporating more technology to lower costs, seek cost efficiencies, and better and improve their services. So the technology sector, I would say, even in this crisis situation we're going through, is still very very big and a lot of opportunities for companies. In the slide 4, if you can see, I try to highlight some of the upcoming star sectors, so to speak, in technology, where technology applications can be applied to. Internet penetration in Brazil is on the rise. Technology companies ranging from education, bio and clean tech, finance, fintech, healthcare, agri-tech, and creative economy. These are still growing. These are areas where technology in these field sectors are still growing, and where there are a lot of opportunities in Brazil. Basically, its focus is a lot on Brazil's competitive advantages, as it's the largest agriculture exporter in the world, a global leader on sustainability and clean energy solutions, and also a sophisticated financial technology provider. Other sectors such as life sciences, education, creative energy reflect the potential of Brazil's domestic market. So there's a lot of space for these kind of technologies in these sectors in Brazil still. The next slide, please, Miriam.
Yeah.
To remind everybody that Brazil has a large market, a very large market, which is good that if you have a good, it can be a good test bed for expanding solutions in the market. A company can grow and do extremely well just in Brazil, and then they can go abroad. So a lot of companies tend to come here and test out their business idea solution, and then go to other countries. Remembering actually that Brazil, we talk about Latin America, but Brazil is still a very different economy and country compared to the other Latin American countries. But just focusing on the Brazilian market itself, because of the wide diversity throughout Brazil in the different markets available inside Brazil, it's a good test bed, as I mentioned. So you can really test what works or what doesn't, and then take it to another country, Peru, Colombia, for example. Recently, there's not that many, not much competitions in place for a lot of these sectors. If you put together a good team and strategy, you can really have an interesting growth opportunity here. So it's, when I say there's no competition, there's always competition in business, but a lot of areas, the sectors I mentioned to you, are growing. So there aren't that many players yet in the market. So it's a good opportunity in terms of less competition available. And recently, many accelerators, angels, venture capitalists, government initiatives have shown support to innovative ideas and solutions for innovative companies that want to come into Brazil or already work in Brazil.
Rafa, can we talk a little bit, what are the accelerators and angel networks that we have currently in Brazil? And talk about a little bit about Startup Brazil as well.
Sure, there's a lot of them, but just to top of the head of it, well, to start off with a government program called Startup Brazil, which started about 3 years ago or so, if I'm not 3 or 4, where the government has funded a program where they sponsor accelerators and they sponsor accelerators to be the hosts of this program. And in the accelerators, the accelerators will identify entrepreneurs that they want to host for their programs. So it could be 6 months, a year. So the entrepreneurs apply through the programs, and the accelerators also apply. There's a criteria for them to continue being accelerators, and entrepreneurs also have to go through an application process, a filter. Then the match is made. So this program has been very successful in terms of identifying really good companies in the tech area that's been in different accelerators throughout Brazil. So there's many in Brazil. In São Paulo, there's a lot. Accelerats. There's a couple in Minas Gerais. It's hard to say a couple names. Maybe we can follow up with certain names that we can pass on. But there's a lot of them that we can share with your listeners as well later. A lot of them and throughout Brazil, which is interesting. It's not just focused on São Paulo and Rio. So throughout Brazil, there's a lot of high quality accelerators that's producing great programs and bringing in great entrepreneurs and startups with great ideas. So it's a movement. It's still in progress. I'm saying maybe 3-4 years. This is starting to take off. So the model is still being identified, but it's really exciting because there's a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs. Again, but we don't need to depend on the accelerators. These accelerators are through the program of Startup Brazil, but a lot of them run by themselves, of course, as well. But entrepreneurs, if they can take advantage of accelerators, it's great because it does offer mentoring, access to investors. There's a couple investment groups called Gavia Angels. There's one called Anjos do Brasil, which has a lot of links with contacts abroad, outside of Brazil. So the angel movement as well, it's kind of new. It's starting to grow. Anjos do Brasil does a lot of training for potential angel investors. Tell them what is angel investment, what's the best way of doing it, what are the opportunities. So it's a lot of training in this sector too. So, but there's a lot of people interested. There's a growing market for angel investors as well, which is very interesting.
Sounds good. Well, we go to the next slide.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, please. Yeah, so the ecosystem, like I said, the ecosystem is growing. What's very interesting, we say in Brazil, if you think 5-6 years ago, the entrepreneurship word, startup word, was not really talked about. You didn't see it in the media. You don't see anywhere. People didn't understand what it was. And it's been growing a lot. Now you have TV programs, you have magazines, you have a lot of in-city meetings, meetups. So it's growing, this entrepreneurship movement, interest, and the ecosystem. So it's getting very it's a good moment, so to speak, in terms of ecosystem development. But there's still a lot of challenges. It's very complicated and expensive to operate business in Brazil. Taxes are high, complex, and confusing. Likewise are the labor laws. This should drastically simplify eventually in the next few months, years. But it's something that the venture capitalists or foreign venture capitalist investors still need to learn and talk to local partners to learn more about. The startup scene is quickly growing, like I said, and we're seeing more and more over the last 2-3 years, more and more experience in technical entrepreneurs replacing the black and white kind of MBA, McKinsey type of people who started kicking off the ecosystem in the past. Now there's people who are very more technically who are experts in different areas and technical areas. So it's giving more a diverse, rich perspective in the ecosystem, so to speak. And the founders of the ecosystems have now there's creative, new, different people coming in. So it's getting exciting and diverse in the ecosystem. The Brazilians are one of the most creative and innovative people in the globe because of that diversity I mentioned about. It does provide a lot of positive impact on our startup scene. Brazilian entrepreneurs adapt quickly, they learn fast, and they can develop new solutions for complex problems with very simple approaches, which is simple for clients and simple for investors. So that's one of our assets in that country. We really have this creativity, diversity that in the different parts of the country, which adds a lot of value to the businesses being built, and for investors to look into as well. Just a quick focus on the screen, on the ecosystem scene. I highlighted three things that pop out. Why is a ecosystem scene impressive or interesting in Brazil? It is sizable, but with significant growth perspectives. Again, we have 100 million people online already, enough critical mass for any business to test out, for example, their solutions. But we still have another 100 million to get online in the next years. We have about 210 million people in Brazil. So about half of them are online, and another couple millions are coming in as we speak, every month, every year. So there's a lot of growth potential for business opportunities here. Leapfrogging, what do I mean? Some of our services and the infrastructure is so bad that we simply use technology to stages. For example, I just read recently the trucking industry. In the U.S., for example, it went from independent truckers to fleets to GPS fleets to Uber-like models. In Brazil, you can go directly from the independent truckers to Uber. So this leapfrog, what I mean is you can use technology to jump a couple of steps of some development issues or business opportunities. It's hard to start, but better to thrive. The Brazilian ecosystem, Brazilian business ecosystem, is known to be. It's hard to start a business in the ecosystem, for example, in doing business in Brazil. But once you've cleared that hurdle in the beginning, you really you can overcome a lot of obstacles, and you have a huge market. You will have fewer competition than you would have in the U.S. or other countries abroad. So the companies here can have a stronger foundation when it begins. But it's a lot of patience and persistence as well. It is hard to do business, but it doesn't mean it's impossible to do business. It's very important always to have the local partner, or good local partners, serious local partners that can help you guide through all the different obstacles that most businesses have to face with in Brazil and foreign companies coming to Brazil. In slide 7, just to mention slide 7, Miriam. Sorry.
Yes.
So it's less focused on B2C opportunities. It still exists, but I think what we've noticed that it's a lot more focused on problems that require domain expertise, and it's typically a lot more to B2B focused businesses as well. You can focus on applying technology to big offline world problems like logistics, home improvement, health providers. So the tendency is that it's a lot more focused to B2B solutions in the country. A lot of local companies are starting to master lead generation, scaling up sales teams, enterprise sales, and the market is evolving fast. The venture capitalist money is shifting from e-commerce, which to more B2B, like I mentioned, and growth and revenue-oriented companies. This is a trend that we've noticed as well. And slide 8, Miriam, sorry.
Yeah.
But of course, there are challenges. There are challenges. It's great. The ecosystem is big. There's a lot of opportunities, but there are challenges facing the startup scene. I want to mention a few. Lack of product sales and marketing knowledge by local founders who can bring solutions to markets with the quality that is needed to compete and scale globally. Second, there's like I mentioned before, inexperienced angel investors and VCs. There is a lot of, like I mentioned, Gava angels, Anjos do Brasil. They're doing a lot of awareness building, training for potential angel investors. So, but it's still a challenge we meet in the day-by-day workings in the ecosystem. The way to overcome it is time. We're in the right directions. Companies are growing, and I feel that in the future these issues will be fixed. And with the first exit, and also second-time founders coming in, and also the entrepreneurs coming back, already coming back and giving back to the ecosystem with their mentoring, with capital, seed money, and with their experiences. And so this is a trend that will happen, and it still takes time. Like I mentioned, I mean, 4 or 5 years is very little time, but there's a lot of potential still. In slide 9, the next slide, we want to remind everybody again that this one that we're starting is the taster, the beginning of the series of webinars we're putting together. The next one will be with specific investors in the ecosystem. We're going to have 2 specific investors who can talk about the investment scene and what kind of area sectors that are growing in Brazil that are looking for investments, for example, or joint ventures. And we have two guests who will talk about connecting different players in the ecosystem. So it's going to be really exciting. The next webinar, we'll be sending the updates of that shortly. The next slide.
We are going to send the links for you guys to connect with us.
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it. These guys, just to highlight one of them. Felipe Matos was one of the first. The director of the Startup program I mentioned, Startup Brazil program I mentioned, that is sponsored by the government, and so he has a rich experience in knowledge, experience and knowledge and know-how of the accelerators of the different kinds of sectors that the startups starting up. He's someone that you don't want to miss his presentation.
Awesome, and we also have Latam Chats. And Latam Chats is happening in June 21st, and we are going to talk with some startups from Brazil, and they are going to share with us how they are expanding business and how they are expanding to other markets and what are the challenges and the opportunities.
Absolutely.
And at the end, I'd like to remind everybody that we have the annual conference in Mexico this year. So that is in October, and we are inviting all of you to be part of this because Brazil is going to be part of that. Startup Brazil is going to be there as well. So you can network with a very high level at the conference in Mexico this October. And now we are open to questions. And we have already one from Andrew in Toronto. And this question, Rafael, is about how the bad political situation right now in Brazil is affecting startups locally.
No, that's a good question. It's a good question in general about how Brazil's moving forward. So yeah, there's a political crisis, so to speak, in terms of impeachment process going on. The day by day, Andrew. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it affecting us so much the day by day. I mean, investors. There's a lot of movement in investments, in entrepreneurship, training, awareness. The day by day, I don't think it's. It could only get better. Well, let me rephrase this. The impeachment process will end by August, September. The new government that's in place until the impeachment process, they are very pro-business. So things could possibly get better, not worse. So if he does take over the presidency and our ex-president leaves in the impeachment process, he's very business oriented, and he's already shown that. He's talked about improving business processes and entrepreneurship development. So it could be very positive. So we're us who work in the private sector are looking forward to that. But like again, the day by day accelerators are still working. There's still investment in companies going on. Entrepreneurs are still meeting up. There's still ecosystem thriving. So to be honest, the day by day, I don't see that much changes. We're just hoping it could get better if, in terms of the president, the vice president, who's now the acting president, does become full president after September, October, because he's more pro business oriented. That's what I can share from my own experience.
Okay, and now I have a second question, and with this we need to finalize the webinar. We can follow up through email for other questions. But the second question is about how to get a partner locally. Like Oscar from London, Ontario is asking how I can get a partner in Brazil and trust that that person is going to do a good job for my company?
No, very good, very important and good question, Oscar. No straight answer, but it's reaching out to people in the ecosystem. So a lot of the people I invite you to join the other webinars because a lot of people who are going to be in the webinars are people who are very much active and know a lot of people in the ecosystem of accelerators, businesses, all kind of sectors. So it's reaching out to these kind of people who will be glad to connect you with after the webinars as well. Eventually, you can always reach out by email, internet, and stuff. But you don't know they're going to be serious or not. Eventually, a lot of businesses, depending on the size of your businesses, a lot of businesses do come on a mission. They come on a trip to Brazil. It's not, perhaps not everybody has the finances for that at the moment, but here it's very much Brazil relationship focus, right? So you want to get to know the person who you're going to do business with here. So that's another way of traveling here is very important to get to know the on the ground reality, right? I would start with the contacts we're going to be sharing through the webinars. You can always reach out to us for questions or suggestions of specific sectors you're interested in. But yes, it's no straight answer. It's a diligence that you have to do. You have to get to know them, look at their background. LinkedIn, look through the different social medias and find out who they are, and then start dialoguing with them. And if you can make it on a trip to Brazil to meet them and others, it's also recommendable. I hope, but we invite you for the other webinars because you can also meet a lot of them there that can point you to the right direction.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you so much, Rafael, for sharing your time today. For the others, we hope you can be at the other webinars. We're going to share all about the other webinars and who are joining us those days and the backgrounds and all that. So you will see that you can do very good connections there in the next webinars that are free as well. So thank you, everybody. If you have more questions, just please don't hesitate to contact us. Contact at latamstartups.biz or hashtag latamstartups, and we're happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.